All right, how many of you are having a problem focusing on that black spot instead of focusing on your sight? Yes, it's not easy to do. All right, and it's this subtle is what we're talking about. Like, let's say I'm focused on this object out here. Okay, I'll look at your Arc'teryx thing. Like, I say I'm focused on this. Now watch what my eyes do. My sight's coming up to me. What happened? Yeah, so it's like, it's really what you're being asked to do is as simple as this. Look at that spot. Your finger comes up and you just keep looking at that spot. You don't see my eyes move. Now, like, let's pretend the bullet goes right where the tip of my finger is. So I'm very interested in having the tip of my finger in exactly the right spot. But the way that I get it to that spot is by continuing just to look at that spot and not flipping my focus onto the tip of my finger itself. But you can tell if you're watching, it's this subtle. All right. Now, yeah, and it's like, believe it or not, this little exercise can help you, right? In a sense, you're looking at that spot and your gun will come up into your awareness, but you don't react to that. You'll just see a shadow outline of your gun with the color red sitting on top of that outline, and you don't ever look at this thing. You're looking at where you want it to go. So I'll give you a couple of parallels. So let's say you're driving a car. Do you stare at the hood of the car to point it where you want? Like, you learn early on, like, you don't do that. That's super counterproductive, right? What about using a mouse? So you're at a computer using the mouse. Do you stare at the pointer as it goes around the screen? No, you're very comfortable. Like, this is what's weird about red dots. People, they have a hard time finding the dot initially, right? So they bring the gun up, and as soon as they see the dot, they stare at it. Now they don't want to lose it, so they just, it's like this, right? And they're like, oh, I don't want to lose it. But really quickly, you want to get to where you're comfortable with the red dot leaving your awareness. So what I mean is, like, I'm looking here, and now I'm looking over here, and in that moment where I shifted my attention over to this side, I was not aware of where the red dot was. I just trust and believe. I look over here, it's going to come to me. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, so there's a lot of tools we can use to stop people from staring at their sight. You can change the brightness of the dot. Now, ideally, I think your red dot is going to be a red thing that exists out in the world. It's not bright and pulling your attention to it. It's not dim and difficult to see. It's just a red thing that's hanging out. Okay? So playing with the brightness of the dot, one direction or the other, can help you understand this. Like, make it too bright, where it's like, you're like, oh shit, like, you can't look through it with that. It's like so bright. Try setting it, the brightness higher. Like, turn it down so where it's kind of dim, or maybe set it to where you think it's right, and just keep playing with the brightness of the dot. That can help you understand what you're actually doing. Other things we can do, have you seen occluding the sight? Of course, covering over the front of the sight. This is a helpful tool that should indicate to you when you're focused on the sight. The way that works is, if I actually stare at the sight, it just shuts down my view of the target. Like, it covers over the target. So we could do that as well. But basically, it comes down to just having the intent to look at the spot and not looking at your sight. One other thing that makes this hard here is the sight's going to be up in your awareness for like 5 seconds while you're shooting. The longer you're sitting here looking through the sight, the more likely you are to look at it. And that's one of the features of this drill. It's not really a bug. It just helps you, like, yeah, look through it, don't look at it. We want to do a quick exercise to show you this. I think so. Let's get everybody up here, please.